Go ahead.
Good Friday morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? All right, got a few people out here. That's good. Most of them are still eating, but hey, today is Friday, May 30th, 2025, and this is your Friday morning meeting. So welcome, everybody. Big shout out to all our terminals out there, Salt Lake and Pittston, and especially, Johnny, to all of our drivers out there running up and down the highway, you know, and maybe they're listening to this right now. Maybe they're going to wait until they get parked and watch us. I don't know why they watch me or you, but hey, you know, it's what it is. So, but anyway, this morning, happy to have John Harden up here from our safety department. Good morning, John.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing good. So big shout out to everybody. I know we're kind of slim on numbers here in Springfield, but if you're new to orientation this week, if this is your first week of orientation here at Prime, if you could, anybody could please stand. We'd love to give you a round of applause. Stand on up, sir. No, that may not be his first week, but that's okay. Stand up anyway, man. We'll give you a round of applause. There we go. Welcome to the Prime family. So that's right. So they must be pretty busy over in orientation. We didn't get a whole lot this week, but that's okay. Everybody's learning and moving on. So if you haven't got your breakfast this morning, make sure you get over to our cafeteria at all three locations too. I'd like to give a big shout out and round of applause to those folks as well that cook all this good food, because I can smell it up here, and I know John can as well. So let's give them a round of applause, John Blancett and his staff. So should we get this thing going? Get our first speaker up here?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right, coming up from Driver Health and Fitness, we have Colby, Rachel, and Dr. Luke from Command Health. So good morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Dr. Luke, welcome. Thanks for coming up here. Absolutely. So every Friday we always have a health tip we want to give out and things like that. This week we're kind of a little more specific. Dr. Luke and I were talking about just common things like if you guys know what DVTs or deep vein thrombosis or blood clotting, things like that. So it can be a tough subject. I don't mind having hard conversations sometimes, right? And I know that you, same thing, getting ahead of them. But so we put a couple slides together. If you want to talk about it a little bit, maybe open up some eyes on it, and then we'll kind of add some things at the end. How about that?
Yeah, you bet. So really what we want to help you guys is just be aware of what the symptoms of a blood clot, a DVT might look like for you guys, what some complications might be of those, being over-the-road truck drivers and not being able to be as active and sitting for a long time puts you at a little higher risk. Symptoms of a DVT, you could have swelling of, usually it's going to be a leg, could be an arm, but more commonly going to be a leg. Pain in that area, warmth, redness. And those percentages there, the percentage on the left, the higher percentage means basically if you have a very low chance of it not being a DVT if you don't have those symptoms. So if those are missing, and you think, oh, is this symptom, could I have a blood clot? Probably not if those things are missing. If you do have those symptoms, you can see that percentage is much lower on the right. There's a lot of other things can look like a DVT. And so, but it's definitely something that warrants you want to get checked out, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily have one, but things you want to look out for. And on the right, on the other side, the signs to be aware of, there's different physical exam findings we look for. The most helpful one is down at the bottom there where it shows the difference in calf size. So if you notice one calf is bigger than the other, and it's not normally that way, that's going to be the most useful in determining whether or not you need to get checked out.
Well, and I was going to say too, what I really find on the symptom side is amazing as you're talking about is like looking at those percentages saying, hey, if you don't have swelling and edema, 97% chance you don't have a blood clot, right? Therefore, like swelling and edema is...
You're almost always going to have swelling if you have a blood clot.
There you go. So that's why same thing as on the pain side, right? If you don't really have much pain in there, like I wonder if that's a blood clot. 86% of the time, if you don't have pain there, probably isn't that, right?
Right.
Or the opposite side. So
and the complications up at the top there too, to be, it's like, oh, what's the big deal about a blood clot in your leg? You can get what's called a PE, a pulmonary embolus. That clot can move up and go into your lungs. Not everybody could get a stroke, but some people still have a little hole in their heart left over from when they were born that never fully closed. That clot can go up into your brain and cause a stroke. And then not as serious chronic venous insufficiency basically means those veins in that leg aren't going to work as well going forward. So you're going to deal with swelling and issues for a long time afterwards.
Awesome. You go to the next one. There you go. I find this one, and then you can go from here. I find this one really interesting is in the very top we were talking about this is, truck drivers have 28% higher risk of a PE and only 9% high in DVTs. I don't know. As much as you and I talk about it, there's so many of the things of the reasons and the causes of this that makes me think that numbers are just inaccurate. But that's what we found. So
yeah, that's what the research has found. Yeah, and usually, like I said, you're going to get PE or pulmonary embolus if you have a DVT, but not always. And then some other risk factors to consider there. Obviously, immobility's on there, which applies to truck drivers. But really that immobility is magnified if you have some of these other risk factors, especially like if you're smoking or if you're overweight. Those are big ones. If you're cardiovascularly not in good health, high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. And so really the biggest thing you can do to limit your risk of getting a blood clot is watching your health. We can't do much about the immobility, but really that's more magnified. That's not the biggest factor. It's some of the others.
Well, and I think I like this list you put together too, because when you look at it, you're going, how many of those things can I have an influence on as an individual? A lot of those, right? And that's what I think is important. So yeah, awesome. Can you go to the next one? There you go.
So like we mentioned in that first slide, those symptoms of DVT doesn't necessarily mean you have a DVT. There can be a lot of other things. Most commonly on the list they found in one study was that about 40% of the time it's a muscle strain. So if you got swelling in one leg and it's painful and it's warm, but you remember, hey, you stepped off your truck and landed funny on your leg and it's, you can remember some sort of injury, probably not a blood clot. And then there's a full list there of other things that are not quite as common. The next biggest one is actually unknown. They didn't determine what the cause of the pain was, but most commonly it's going to be a muscle strain.
Well, and one thing I want to add to this is, like you were saying, is we'll get to it on the very next slide too, is that when you get down to the point of some of these things is if you have that muscle strain and stuff is being aware and being in tune, but also having conversation, like I said, with the doctor and knowing your doctor's around, have constant contact with them, because it's important to know, like, the symptom may elongate. You feel like, man, I pulled muscle shouldn't last 6, 8, 10 weeks. Like, holy cow, now I'm getting discoloration. Now I'm getting swelling. Now that's something to look out for, right? So
yeah.
Can you go to the last one too? So a couple other things, and this is where we'll talk about, and the very last one, like I said, is having a regular doctor visitations and stuff, but a couple ways of looking at preventing them. Things we talk about being proactive is we look at things like staying active, hydrate. This is why I have Rachel up here. Hydration, we talk all the time is, and maybe I'm wrong and you can call me out on it right now, but I always say there's 4 ways to look at it, right? Is food you eat that help with hydration, but also food you eat that help dehydrate. Things you drink that help hydrate, things you help that dehydrate, right? Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So like there are going to be foods that actually do provide water and that do provide electrolytes and hydrate you when you're eating them. So a lot of times the more processed a food is, the more it's going to pull minerals out of your body and dehydrate you. And it's kind of a lot of times if you're creating a blood sugar spike as well from that processed food, then you're having to pee more because that's one of the ways that your body regulates blood sugar. And so, yeah, there's things like just doing fruits, veggies, things that contain water. Even if it is, just the salad from the truck stop occasionally, it helps. Like it's still, people say that like lettuce is just water, but it's hydrating.
Yeah,
and it
welcome.
is a good way to hydrate and to not have to go to the bathroom whenever you're driving as often.
So one other question on the dehydrating side, what are a couple things that they consume drinking liquids that are dehydrating?
So, I mean, if you're having a liquid that is a sugary option, like it does contain sugar, that is it's not as hydrating, I guess is a good way to say it. And then on the food side of things, the more processed a carbohydrate base it is, like let's say it's biscuits or, breads, things like that, that's not going to be a great option.
Okay.
It's if you think about it, they're very dry. They're very low in water. They're not contributing
sucks
water.
it up, right? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, a couple of things on here. Like I said, we have compression. I know a lot of times you even probably recommend in the doctor's office things, certain compression for certain people to help with circulation and stuff like that, right? And those can be found a lot of places. A couple of things here, the family history. I think family history is another one that probably you guys in your office do as well. So like that's something I wanted you to talk about too for a second is we're talking about a regular visit with the doctor and a couple of those other things. Same thing as knowing family history. What is a good way, and we talked about this before, you have a really good system right now of a way that guys and drivers and people can stay in touch with you more regularly or have regular conversations for something like this, right?
Yeah, so the membership program we have here at Command Health would be great in this type of scenario. So we have, you pay a flat monthly fee to have a membership with us. You get to text your doctor, your provider directly. So if something comes up and you've got swelling in one leg and pain, you can easily text a picture. You could hop on a call with them and help walk you through whether or not you really need to get it checked out. So, they may be able to walk you through it and figure out, oh, no, it's not likely a blood clot. You're okay to stay on the road, or they could help you expedite that visit that you might need to go get. And so, great to have access no matter where you're at on the road, not have to pull off and find an urgent care or something somewhere to get checked out. And then also, we do all our lab work and prescriptions are wholesale prices. The wholesale prescriptions are here locally, but labs would go through LabCorp. So if you need lab work, if we're trying to work something up, an issue that you're having and you're out on the road, anywhere you find a LabCorp across the country, we can get wholesale pricing for you at any of those locations.
Well, I love that because the biggest thing we always talk about from our department is about managing, right? Manage your health, manage your nutrition, manage your lifestyle, your business, that kind of stuff. And that's what I do feel like something that's really helps is in any way you do it, but staying in constant contact with your doctor and stuff is a way to manage things, be proactive, not reactive. And in the long run, everyone knows that's our most beneficial way, right? So
Correct.
That's something you and I always agree on. So
Yep.
Awesome. Well, you got anything else?
I was just going to mention, if you're interested in signing up for that membership, we have flyers all over. There's some right back here. I see on the door. You got a question?
Yeah. Hold on. I got a mic here.
Can you do it even if you're a PhD student?
You sign up for the membership? Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good question. So yeah, you're in. So let's see. One other thing. We have our highway diamonds that we have, and everyone knows that's our female drivers. We like to celebrate them. We're actually starting a highway diamonds only fitness competition and within them. So if you guys have questions, we're going to send some stuff out about that. D, you want to comment on it? Come on. Yeah, I know. Okay. All right. So if we are involved in our highway diamonds, that's something that I don't take lightly. I love that. I think it's amazing. They invited me in, which is really cool. And to be able to do some kind of things, keep an eye out for that. We're going to have a lot of fun, some stuff we're going to do in that competition. We'll share some things, how we do that. So what else? Anybody have any questions or anything for me? Dee's got something. I say your name. I know you got something to say.
All right, this is for all the ladies. First of all, I'm sitting here at the table with our 2025 Highway Diamond of the Year, Tammy Pickett. Can we give her a round of applause?
Love it. Yeah.
All right, our amazing Emily Plummer came up with the idea for our women in the Prime Highway Diamond Support Group to start getting more active this year and to do the simple things that we possibly can to start getting physical and getting more consistent. So the Highway Diamonds Fitness Challenge begins on June 1st, and we're going to take it all the way up until the company picnic. There will be prizes awarded for the top participants. If you are not in that group, ladies, you need to get in the group. Prime Highway Diamond Support Group on Facebook. That's where all the information is. Emily has compiled a list of names of those who said they wanted to participate, but we want to see more. Guys, you don't have to go out of your way to do something you're not comfortable with. If all you do is 5 minutes of walking a day, you did 5 minutes of walking. If all you did was 10 squats that day, you did 10 squats. Maybe you're going to be dancing to music, or perhaps you want to change your diet and you're going to show us pictures and videos of what you did in the group. Since we've announced this challenge, we've seen multiple things. Tammy here, she has a whole hula hoop thing that she does. She's got this little twister thing that she does at truck stops while she's in her truck, and she's showing those videos. And so, Kobe, I believe you're going to come up with a link for our women to be able to document.
Yeah, so we'll have multiple ways they can do it. And I love what you're talking about. That is, the fitness can always be a deterrent, right? That term where it's like, yeah, this fitness isn't my thing. I don't love it. So really we're calling it more like and I said the word, but more like activities, right? So an activity challenge, meaning getting active. So finding ways, love the hula hoop, love those ideas. And I catch myself every day seeing what you guys are up to, you know? But yeah, we'll have a lot of ways that you can do that. And we're going to share it here before too long on that page specifically. So only if you want that information, it'll be specifically on that page only. So that way there are ways that you can log those and do all those kinds of things for that same purpose. But, and I love it. I think it's a great idea and we'll have a lot of fun with it for sure. So, okay. All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it, buddy. Man, that's something, Colby and Rachel, they're always starting something up new, John, you know, and I know you're stepping up for our fitness challenge in-house for representing our department. I think, you know, just so you're keeping those numbers up there, those push-ups and setups for us.
Well, I think that that's over now, and I think that I may have been the only one that participated, so.
Oh, I didn't know I was invited. No, so, but anyway, no, it's great having them here, and they're always doing something every week, something different, it seems like. So, you know, hey, a healthy driver is a safer driver out there, and we really believe that. So listen to what they say. If you got questions, that's what they're here for. See them after the meeting, you can call them, get a hold of them, you know, ask them. If you're through the terminal, stop by, talk to them. They're more than happy to sit down with you and talk to you. Same thing with Command Health. Great seeing Dr. Luke up here, and they're here as well. You know, keep you healthy, keep you going, because that's what it's about right there. So your health's number one. So
Absolutely. Take advantage of those resources whenever you're here. If you're not here, call in and we'll get you in touch with them. So, you know, let's start by going out to our terminals now. Let's go out west to Utah. I think we've got Justin Walker and Jonathan Grice. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Just kind of a couple this week out here. We have very warm temperatures. Yesterday, we hit the first 90-degree day here in Utah. So just be mindful of that. Carry extra fluids, coolant, windshield wiper fluid, all that stuff for the truck, and then fluids for yourself. Just stay hydrated out there like we talked about with the driver health and fitness. We are getting our trailer yard ready for the truck driving championship next week, so it'll be a little bit tight, but we appreciate everyone's help on that as well. That's all I got for safety.
All right, good morning, guys. To kind of tag on to what Justin was talking about. So next Wednesday will be our last day of testing out here on the pad. And then Thursday we'll be starting to prep to get everything ready to go for that TDC event next weekend. So if you're out this way, we want to encourage everybody to stop by or cheer on your other Prime associates, and hopefully we can take home some hardware next weekend. I also want to talk about freight out here still in really good shape. We're overbooked most every day. You know, I encourage everybody to get out here as often as they can. We got produce out west, obviously. California is super hot, so we encourage everybody to get out here. Shop capacity is in really good shape as well. You know, if you've got maintenance due on your trucks, please swing by. We can get you in and out pretty quickly and get you fixed and rolling back on the road pretty quickly. So that's all I have today. Please be safe.
All right, well, we appreciate it, guys. If anybody has any questions, comments out there, get a microphone in front of them. We would love to hear from you. So let's go out east now. We've got Rick Iffert. Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
Hey, we're doing great.
Hey, great class this week. We had a bunch of drivers in orientation this week. For a short week, we did really well. Phenomenal job they did coming in. They had all their stuff in a row, all their ducks in a row, and now they're out there working on their pre-trips.
All right, good deal. Well, you've got quite a few yellow vests I see setting up there. So we want to say welcome to all the new associates. Hopefully you guys stood up and let everybody welcome you to the Prime family.
Yeah, they're here now. They're a part of the family. We're not letting them go.
All right, well, good deal. Well, you have another, I believe you have Steven up there with you this morning, correct?
Yeah, Steve Ben's standing behind me, and I think he's got a few words that he's going to talk about.
All right, good morning, Steven.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
All right, good deal. So just kind of want to take a minute to kind of talk about some like operational things. And one of my first lessons I learned as a fleet manager was sometimes perspective and what you feel is happening can be a little bit different than what's actually happening. So I'm gonna take a little moment here to kind of talk about the year-over-year numbers of what we're looking at as far as like revenue and rate per miles and stuff like that, and kind of show you kind of what we're seeing with data. So if we look at basically week 9 through week 21, comparing 2024 to 2025, we actually see some positive numbers. Year over year, we're actually up just shy of 24,000 loads year over year. So we are seeing our load count go up. Revenue up year over year is about 5.5% as well during that time. And then in reefer only, we're actually seeing a slight uptick in rate per mile. So 2024 rate per mile is right around 240 a mile. 2025 is sitting about 248. It's a small increase. It's like a 1% increase, but it is an increase. So we are seeing some positive, some movement with those numbers. If we look at a shorter period of time, the last 6 weeks of work, and we compare 2024 to 25, we actually see earnings up just slightly. In solos, we're seeing about $50 a week extra profit in our solos, and our teams are about up about $130 a week year over year. So we are seeing some slight improvement on profitability wise. Now, those are small increases, yes. They're not large increases, but seeing a positive trend line going up is definitely a positive move for everybody. Back in like February and March when, freight was pretty tough, I was having conversations with drivers about, they're asking me like, hey, when are things going to get better? And my answer was pretty much the same with all of them. And, my answer was, well, I don't have a crystal ball, but if I was to say when things are going to start moving up a little bit, I was telling them May. And I think the data actually shows that we did see freight increases, rate increases in the month of May. And I expect that to continue actually through June. We see throughout the years actually, as we get closer to like the end of a quarter, our freight volume actually ticks up normally. So we expect June, which will be the end of quarter 2, to be a pretty decent month. But conversely, when we hit July, beginning of quarter 3, followed by a major national holiday on July 4th, we typically see freight come down just a little bit. So if you were to ask me advice about like, when should I work versus not work, I would tell any one of my drivers, try to work as much as June as possible. June is going to be that month where we're going to see more load volume, more profitability. And if you can afford to take time off in July, that's when you're going to take time off. So continue to work on the things that, safety and service, and keep hitting those things, keep positive attitude out there, and we'll get through this month, hopefully pretty good. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Steven, real quick, how long you been a fleet manager here and how many trucks you run?
I think this coming June is going to be my 11th year as a fleet manager. And right now, I think I have about 135 trucks.
Wow, you stay busy, no doubt. So I appreciate you sharing your Friday mornings with us down here and discussing some numbers. John, you got any questions for Steven?
One thing, Stephen, as a former fleet manager, what are some of the things that you're doing right now? You're having conversations with your drivers about, time off. And I know that's a very prevalent conversation. Anytime you close the doors to your business, you're not going to make money. So what are some of the conversations you're having aside from that, just to help them save a few dollars this summer if they can?
Well, number one is fuel. It's your number one cost. Reducing speed, not going 65 everywhere is obviously a huge thing. That slight uptick in MPGs means a lot of money more in your pocket, not in the hands of TAs and Petros. So that's kind of number one. Number two is talking with people about training. Training is a process where, when you start the conversation about training, that's about a month process from when you start the conversation to when you're actually getting approved and coming in to actually take the classes. So, when I'm talking to people about that, my mind, I'm already in July and August. I'm already way ahead of the game when I'm trying to talk to people about those things, because it takes time to prepare for that. And, having those conversations early and often with fleet managers is probably a really good key.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Well, Stephen, we appreciate you taking your time this morning. We know you need to get back to your fleet. So if anybody has any questions for Stephen and PA, feel free to grab him. Reach out to one of us if you're here in Springfield, or Jonathan or Justin if you're out in Salt Lake City. So, well, we appreciate it, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please get the microphone in front of somebody. Dave, you want to bring it back here?
Yeah, let's bring her back. Good morning, everybody. Looks like we filled up a little bit. Good morning, Springfield. There we go. We got a little bit more action this time, Johnny. Yeah, good deal. I know you said you were a fleet manager for a long time, and you've talked many times about communication and how important that is. You want to say a few words about that too?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the summer as far as, from a fleet manager's perspective. You've got, kids are out of school, vacations, so a lot of times we'll see more passengers. I just want to reiterate, anytime you have a passenger on your tractor, reach out to your fleet manager. Even if you have a passenger permit form with valid dates, you need to let your fleet manager know each time that passenger gets on or gets off of your truck. And we also need to make sure that we are reaching out to the fleet manager, getting everything approved, just make sure we're in compliance with our passengers and everything. So if you have questions about that, reach out. If you need to go home for home time, be pretty specific. Reach out to your fleet manager as far in advance as you can. And if you have a doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning on July 12th, if you send a message in that says, hey, I need to be home on July 12th, your fleet manager may not understand that you need to be there probably the night before so you can get to that appointment first thing in the morning. So just over communicate as far as details. You guys earn the right to go home, take your home time. And every one of the fleet managers here, regardless of division, wants to get you there. So make sure that they have plenty of heads up. Make sure you're getting in there, before you need to, if it's an appointment or something. And the further ahead you communicate, the better.
And we have seen more inspections too with them checking for passengers. So make sure you have that passenger permit, because if you don't, they can remove that passenger on your truck, and then it creates an awkward situation because now you got to get a hold of your fleet manager, get a passenger permit because you got your passenger sitting in a scale, and it just creates more trouble. So get that taken care of up front, and you don't have to worry about it, and you're good to go. So, well, let's move on. Security was big over the weekend, I think, and I'd like to see what Bill has to say about our numbers and how we did overall as a fleet with security side. So good morning, Bill.
Dave. How you doing? Good. Good morning. Yeah, I want to come up and speak a little bit about security, but the first thing I want to do is say thank you. Thank you very much for everything you're doing. I get to go to these conferences and I get to talk to a lot of security people from all over the United States from different trucking companies. And the first thing I find out is that our shrink for a year is better than what most of these people are doing in a month or even in a week in some cases. So we do an exceptionally good job of taking care of our freight and keeping us safe out there compared to other companies. But is that really what we're going to do, is compare ourselves to other companies, or do we want to get better? I say we want to get better. So here's what I'm going to ask of you. Theft is just going off the charts right now. I mean, it is the highest it's ever been in all the time I've been here. So we need a few things from everybody here. If you're going out there and you see an unattended trailer sitting in a truck stop, no truck around it, call security and let us know, hey, I've got a trailer sitting here, just unattended. If you see a loaded trailer or even an unloaded trailer going down the road without a lock on it, give us a call so we can have proper talk with the driver and get that trailer locked up. It's so important that we protect all of our freight at all times. Food is still the number one item being stolen out there. I mean, just think of how much we are moving every single week just in food through this network. So, they're targeting trailers. They're targeting trailers now at the end of the run. It used to be the first 200 miles was always the most important, and it's still important. But now the thieves are going to the end of the run, sitting outside these warehouses where they know they're delivering certain items. And while you guys are parking on the street because the gates are closed and you can't get into the 90, they're breaking into the back of the trailers and they're stealing stuff. And these guys are carrying weapons and everything else. So we really don't want you going back there and encountering them. But, you've got to be extremely careful. So if you're going to be early, and when I'm talking early, I'm talking 5-6 hours early for a delivery and the gates are closed and you can't get in, don't park on the street. Go find yourself a different place to park. I mean, I hate to say this, and it's probably counterintuitive, but go park at a truck stop. At least they don't know, the truck stop, they don't know what you're carrying for the most part. But if you park right outside that warehouse, they have a really good idea what you're carrying, correct? So just think ahead of time. Plan your trips accordingly. And finally, can somebody tell me how much this lock cost? 27? 47? Okay, it probably costs a little bit more. It's probably $55 or so. But here's the thing. It costs you a lot more than 55 bucks. That 55 bucks you pay for this lock, you can write that off as a tax thing. Write that off in your taxes. But if you don't have this lock on the back of your trailer, it can cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,000. If you put this lock on the back of your trailer and you show proof you have the lock on the back of this trailer and your trailer gets broken into, we waive that deductible. So this lock is worth a lot more than just 55 bucks. It's worth $500 or $1,000. Also, if you come through the plaza or come onto the lot, or we see you out on the road without a lock on, you get a hit on your service incentives, right? So now you're losing money every single month. So guys, just think about it. Take that extra 2 minutes to walk around to the back of your truck. You got to check your seal anyway. Put a lock on your trailer. You got to check it every time you stop. Keep a lock on that trailer. It's very simple, but the little things that you do will make you the most money in the end. So just take a few more minutes, take your time, and please, by all means, be safe out there. Thank you.
Any questions for Bill? Yep, we got one here.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. We as drivers need to protect our freight regardless. And a lock, that's no big deal. If you have a driver that comes up and tells you, trying to remind you, hey, you forgot to put your lock on, don't be a butt. Put your lock on. Do the right thing. There's no sense. I've seen it happen with our own drivers. One driver go and say, hey, you didn't put your lock on. And that driver absolutely cussed the other one out. There's no sense in that. Let's get along. Let's do the right thing and have a great time doing it.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Bill, where do we get those locks at, those
You
abloys?
can get them right down at the company store. I mean, if you got an older lock, like a Master Lock or some cheaper brand, don't want to just call the Master Lock cheaper brand, but if you got a brand that's other than an alloy, you can trade it in and get $35 for that lock and they'll credit you. So, you can always upgrade. If your lock's not working properly, take it in, they'll upgrade you also. Thank you.
All right, great information. Give him a round of applause. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for coming up here. I think next we're going to switch over to the maintenance side. And, we had one vendor up here earlier, Dr. Luke, and now we got another vendor. We got Ron Thompson with Premier Truck Group. I want to say Freightliner so bad, Ron, but I know it's Premier Truck Group now. So good morning and welcome.
Morning. Thank you. So got a couple of slides to share with you. A topic that I probably get more questions and comments about from drivers than any other when I do driver trainings or did in the past when I was with Detroit Diesel. Let me preface this by saying this is specific to Freightliner or Western Star. Some of the things I talk about may not apply directly to other OEMs, so I want to be cautious. There's a lot of unknowns from the driver's perspective when it comes to a collision mitigation event. The goal of these systems, and I think this is true from all, is to never be activated. The goal is that a driver would always be in control, would always sense a potential problem and take action before the vehicle has to do it for them. That being said, it's a great addition, regardless of your potential frustration with the system sometimes. So I've got 3 slides, and I honestly believe that there isn't a driver here or non-driver that won't learn something because there just are a lot of unknowns if you're not educated in the system, and they can be frustrating trying to figure out what's going on, especially when you don't see any obvious threat. And the system beeps at you, goes to partial braking, maybe even goes to a complete stop. So I'm going to try to help you with that. So the first portion I want to talk about is the top line, ABA 5.0, and that's what you have in your fleet today. Active brake assist is what ABA stands for, is always working above 2.5 miles an hour. So I guess it's not truly always working, but a lot of drivers have the misconception that it's only functioning with cruise control set, and that's not true. It's always watching. It's always trying to evaluate potential threats and then take action when it needs to. It doesn't matter if the camera has a problem or not. It'll still continue to function. Now, it doesn't function as effectively. It functions the way the previous version did, 4.0. which is not as precise because the cameras act as a sounding board, if you will, for the radar to verify that any object or potential threat that is seen can be verified with the camera. So it's not as great, but it will still function. So obviously with any kind of safety system issue, a service issue, you want to get that taken care of immediately. Don't misunderstand, but I don't want you to think that you're completely unprotected if something does happen to that camera. There are faults that are sent back. So the service knows, for example, drivers, when these systems first came out, would cover those up sometimes. You'd get a fault. Those faults are pretty easy to trace back to from either an actual issue with the camera versus being blocked. So be aware of that. The third thing is maybe one of the most unknowns to drivers, and that is that the camera cannot cause a braking event. So I can't tell you how many instances I've had where drivers would talk to me about vehicle went to a complete stop because there was a mural, for example. This was a true example from a driver, a mural on an overpass of some people walking. And the camera picked him up and thought there was a pedestrian, so the brakes slammed on. It is untrue. I hear about shadows often, especially with overpasses, that the shadows are probably what caused an unexpected event. They do not. The camera is there only as a secondary verification device for the system. The radar is the only thing that can actually initiate a braking event. So it's perfectly normal. You don't see anything wrong except a shadow or a mural or a dead raccoon. It was one example that I heard of. And so it's logical from your perspective to think that's what's causing the issue. It never will. The radar can't see those types of things. It has to be radar based. If you could go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, made that one too tricky. So every collision mitigation event has 3 stages that you see there on the left-hand side of the screen. This is a good way to know if it's actually radar-based, if it really senses a threat, versus if ESC or RSC, the 2 devices that are designed to keep you from having a rollover or a jackknife, it's a good way to know which of these systems is causing your braking event. With radar-based, you will always hear 1 second of audible, and you'll see, if you happen to be looking at the instrument cluster, 1 second of visual notification. It'll be like beep, 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 beep. I'm sure you've all heard that at least once. If you have a braking event and you do not hear that, it is not from the radar. It's mandated to have that 1 second. And so I have never once, and literally with thousands of drivers, seen an example where the brakes were applied with no warning that wasn't related to either, again, roll stability or enhanced stability. After that 1 second, the second portion goes into play, assuming that nothing has happened to stop the sequence of events. You'll get partial braking. Again, the goal with these first 2 steps is to get your attention. Maybe you've looked away, maybe something has happened to catch your attention somewhere else. The goal is to get the driver's attention so they can be in control of the situation. Partial braking is still pretty harsh if you haven't felt it. It'll get your attention. We ask for 0.3 Gs. About a third of the braking force that the system is capable of doing is what we ask for. That goes for about a second. It can be slightly less if the camera can verify to the radar that it also sees whatever this danger is, but it would be no more than a second. If nothing has changed to stop the sequence, you'll have about 1 second of full braking after that. It's usually about the amount of time that's left over. The goal of the system is to not interact until the last possible moment, which is why this cadence is pretty similar regardless of the situation. We all refer to this as collision mitigation rather than wreck prevention or anything like that. And there's a reason for that. We need to know, to make it completely effective, you have to have perfect tires, perfect road surface, perfect temperature, all these things. So we know that we won't always be able to prevent an accident, but what we will do is we'll reduce the amount of energy. We will have slowed the vehicle down. So if there is actually an accident, it'll be less catastrophic. That fourth point there is just if you do find yourself coming to a complete stop, from a collision mitigation event. To get the vehicle moving again, you have to apply the service brakes, shift to neutral, shift back to maybe reverse if you've actually hit something, but reverse or drive, and then you'll be able to take off. All right, and final slide, please. Thanks. So again, that first point is just to reiterate, if you don't hear that beep, beep, beep sound first, then you can know that it is from, again, ESC or RSC. These almost always happen on like a clover leaf or something. They're going to be very conservative because if you have a rollover or you have a jackknife and Detroit hasn't done everything they can to prevent it, well, potentially it comes back on them. So they are going to be very conservative. I will not argue with you that sometimes you really could go faster around that corner and it would be perfectly safe. But the system has no way to know if the load is in there properly. Is it, high centered mass? We don't know. The second point is if you are at full throttle and you get an event, in order to stop the event, you have to back off of the throttle slightly and then go back to full throttle. Now, you don't have to hold it at full throttle, that's second portion, but you do have to back off because in the Freightliner, with the Detroit, maybe I should be more specific, the system is looking for that full throttle signal. So that's also that bottom one that I kind of bolded. Full open throttle, even briefly, will override any braking event. So if you hear beep, 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 you go to full throttle. A lot of drivers refer to it as a throttle stomp. I don't love stomping on anything in the vehicle, but it gets the idea across. Just a full throttle past that detent, it really has to be all the way to the floor. The system recognizes the driver believes he's in control and stop the event. That third item about learning to recognize potential threats, the radar is always looking down and up because it knows what plane you're on, but it doesn't know what's ahead of you. So imagine if it just went out perfectly straight and you were going over a slight hill, you wouldn't recognize a potential threat until you were on the same plane as they are. So the radar has to look down to some degree and up to some degree, anticipating hills. There are guidelines for how deep they're supposed to bury metal under the surface of the road across the country. Sometimes things happen. You'll see them often grinding the surface beneath an overpass, for example. Maybe a worker kicks a piece of rebar when they're putting it together. There are things that can cause the system to not recognize, or maybe I should say to recognize a non-threat as a threat. That is often what you're seeing. When you look around, you see nothing wrong. Vehicle comes maybe to a complete stop. That is almost certainly why. It can pick up other things. Mylar balloons are one. A single Mylar balloon in front of you can bring you to a complete stop. Look for things like these. Anticipate as soon as you hear that beep, beep, beep. If you don't see a threat, throttle stomp. I see videos and I hear reports constantly about drivers coming to a complete stop for no reason that's apparent to them, and they just ride it out. Of course, the fear is who's following behind you too closely. Is it a minivan with a family? Is that your fault? No, I would argue not. But it doesn't bring back somebody who's been injured or potentially killed in that type of a thing. So if there really isn't a threat and that cadence starts, full throttle will get you out of it. So it took a long time. I apologize. I could take an hour and a half on this topic. I tried to keep it as low as I could. Any questions about what I talked about?
Yeah, I got one. I noticed on the Freightliner Cascadia, it's always going around corners. It's always given a critical collision warning when the rail starts. When you're coming and when you're facing that rail, there's a critical right there.
They can. So what I usually advise drivers to think of the radar as like a floodlight going straight out in front of you. And at a high level, we know what the train looks like, which is how intelligent powertrain management works. But at a micro level, we don't know that there's a curve coming up necessarily. So if you're going straight towards something that really would be a threat, if you didn't turn at the last minute, it may beep at you. It may warn you because as far as it's concerned, it doesn't know you're going to turn before you get to that. So I definitely see that on occasion, and that's why. Just a few more. I've taken too much time already. I'm sorry.
Is this system picking up the speed limit signs too?
speed limit signs?
Yes.
It should not, from the radar's perspective, it should with the camera to be able to show you a representation on the instrument cluster.
Because I've been in a situation where I was on cruise control doing 58 and all of a sudden I'm in the 70 zone, but then it says it was 45 and it'll automatically slow me down. If there's a truck falling too close behind me, that's a rear end collision is going to happen.
So that is a different, that's active speed intervention. That is a different system, and that can occasionally happen. Obviously, you've seen it happen. It does give you 10 seconds to react before it actually takes, before it changes your either cruise speed or disengages cruise. So you do have 10 seconds to either disable it, reset your cruise to tell it that's the speed you want, or to not do anything, and then it will slow you to that speed. Yes.
So is the radar looking for only metal or is it looking for biological as well? Say the deer runs out in front of you, is it going to throw the braking system on for you?
At 25 miles an hour and lower, we do look for pedestrians. We do look for hips, and we look for hips because human hips are different than they are in animals. I do, in my past life, I guess, I did hear 2 or 3 instances a year where we would pick up something larger like a moose or a cow. I don't know that I ever heard one that was a deer. We intentionally try to ignore non-humans because, again, we're more concerned about the humans that may be following you than we are about the animals. Thank you, guys.
All right, great information. Thank you, Ron, for coming up here this morning. Appreciate you. Ron, we got such a valuable resource right there with Ron and Dennis too, Johnny, that sits about 15 feet from us with Freightliner rep and does a great job, or Premier Truck Group rep, I should say. But yeah, that's what they're here for. So if you got questions after the meeting, stop them, talk to them, or call in and talk to them. That's what they're here for. And you better understand your truck. So what do you got next?
All right, we're going to bring Alicia up from our log department this morning. So, you know, one thing I'll talk about, I went through the inspections this week. We look pretty good on logs, so we appreciate that. So come on up here, Alicia. Good morning.
Good morning. So the only log inspection that we got this week was not knowing how to send your E-rods over to DOT. So I'm just going to kind of go over that real briefly. What you'll want to do in your Geo tab is go over to the dashboard, and at the bottom you'll see roadside check. Press that, and then you can enter in a PIN if you want, or I just recommend doing no PIN. The officer is going to give you an email address or a code. Whichever one they give you, put that in the comments box, and then if it's an email address, email transfer. If it is the weird code, web services transfer. Then it'll let you know that your logs have been sent. If for any reason, you're in an area with no connection, bad service, or they're just not sending, if you go in and click compliance print and then hand the tablet over to the DOT officer, it will show them all of your logs. So that would be an easy way to get it done if it's not sending. And so that would be how you do that. But another thing I just kind of want to touch on real quick before I hand the mic back over to them is please make sure that you are verifying your logs on a daily basis. This is required to do every 24 hours. Do it at the end of your shift, double check the beginning of your shift. Just make sure that we're verifying them every day. Any questions for logs? Yes.
Do you have a cheat sheet for macros? Because I'm just learning.
We don't handle that in the log department, but if you reach out to, I believe it's IT, they can help you with the macros.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Give her a round of applause. Way to go. Good information again. So, we've already had Steve Benz talk on the fleet manager side. So this morning, I'd like to ask Raleigh Kendal to come back up or come up here and be our second fleet manager for this Friday morning. And Raleigh's got a special driver he'd like to bring up and discuss. So CW, come on up here, man. You're acting like he doesn't know what's going on, Raleigh. You know what I mean? He's like a driver, right? Let me give him the mic. I'll let you talk, Raleigh.
Good morning, Prime family. I'm going to talk a few moments and honor my driver, CW Harstock. He just completed a lease and he's getting ready to retire and going to be going to the, well, he's always welcome back. But he's ready to start a new chapter in his life. And just briefly, I want to talk a little bit about CW and what he's done. He's been here since 2000. Well, he's been with me since 2012. And one of the things that has always stood out about CW is his work ethic. He's probably one of the hardest working drivers that I've ever worked with. But more than that, not just his work ethic and how hard he works, but also the quality of his work. In the last 42 months, he's ran over 370,000 miles, about 8,800 miles per month average. And in that time, he's only had 6 critical events. He's a million miler. He got that, I believe, back in 2018. And he's also got a gold ring with 10 diamonds on it. CW has, been a pleasure to work with. One thing about him is that he loves his job. He loves what he does. And he takes great pride in it, great pride and dedication to his work. And that's why he's been so successful. We ran a lot of the Northwest. We did a lot of Northwest and to the Midwest and back. And we did that for a number of years. And so like during the winter time, when a lot of drivers may not want to go up there, CW took advantage of it and was extremely profitable. We made a lot of money doing that. And so just let you know, there's a lot of money in going up there. But he did it, smart. He wasn't afraid of the snow, but safety has always been a priority for him. So he's a great communicator, and we had a lot of success doing that. The one thing that I've loved about CW, and from the very time I met him, is this is a man that speaks from the heart. He doesn't hold back. He speaks from the heart. That's genuine and honest, and there's a lot of integrity in that. And he's got a lot, like I said, a lot of pride in what he does. So it's been a pleasure to work with him. CW, you're going to be greatly missed. The door is always open, but I know you have great plans in your next chapter in your life. You've been a great blessing to the Prime family, and you've been a reliable friend. And I just want to quote Proverbs, where it says that in their hearts, people plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps, and your steps are going to be well blessed, and you're going to be successful, whatever you do. Just because of how you take on everything accountable, you take everything with dedication and your hard work. And so I just want to speak for myself and for the Prime family. Thank you for your exemplary hard work at Prime, and know that you'll be greatly missed.
You're not getting off here so easy, buddy. What's the secret sauce? How'd you do this?
I don't know. Take pride in my work. He was best of part of it. Well, number one, me second. To be successful, you got to do your job right, do it correctly, and follow policy. That's all. That's all you got to do. That's the way I look at it. You do it right, and you only have to do it once. So that's all I can say. I mean, I was good until probably, but I'm going to miss this place. Really going to miss it. Robert. Just the best guy. Yes. And I'll tell you, over the years, they say you drive for Prime and they ain't got nothing good to say. I said, well, you just didn't do something right, or you don't listen. Robert and the whole family, everybody at Prime here, they give me the tools to work, be successful, and I used them and I applied them. If I didn't understand something, I asked somebody here at Prime, not out in the truck stop. So.
Great having you at CW. Appreciate you, buddy. Best of luck to you and Bonnie down the road, man. And yeah, like Raleigh said, don't be a stranger if you get through here. So.
Well, congratulations. That's an awesome story, and great that Raleigh was able to come down here and give a good send off like that. So we appreciate all your time here at Prime, everything you've done.
What do you got for inspections this week, John? You did them.
Inspections, we had 115 total inspections, 82 clean. So we were at 71%. So great number. Give yourselves a round of applause. I do want to mention two things here. You know, I did see a couple of way stations here that we bypassed. So we want to make sure that we're watching for signage. If you're unsure, pull in just to be safe, all right? We don't want to bypass way station, brake check, anything along those lines. So other than that, we had a pretty good week across the board on inspections. I mentioned the logs look good this week, so we appreciate that. Keep working hard on those. I know that the log department's working hard to bring that number down for us on our CSA score. So you want to talk a little bit about next week?
Yeah, so, you know, Justin Walker already brought up the TDC out in Utah. We're hosting that on the Prime Terminal. So we'll be out there Friday and Saturday. Justin and Jonathan will, along with our drivers, competing. So you'll see a lot of action going on out there. If you could stop by and cheer on the team, if you have that opportunity, please do so. Here in Missouri, we're going to be having our own Friday and Saturday as well. So we got Dwayne Grimm here and Daniel Skidmore. Both of them are on the team. So best of luck. Dwayne went to nationals last year. He got first place in flatbed. He's going to go back and see if he can repeat. So yeah, back-to-back champion. We're hoping for Dwayne and all of our drivers. Hopefully we bring home a lot of hardware. So best of luck to them and can't wait for next week, John. So
absolutely. Good luck to everybody out there. If you're listening, good luck. And we hope we know that you'll represent Prime very well. So real quick, we haven't talked a lot about the Prime app this morning, but the Prime app is another great resource for your business. So if you're here in the Springfield Terminal, if you have any questions about the Prime app, please come over and see Richard and Brianne. They know everything there is to know. They can help you out. If you're out on the road, if you're in another terminal, grab somebody with a microphone. They can get in front of you. Call safety if you're out on the road, and we'll get you to the right person for help.
All right, and you'll see many of us are wearing red this morning. That's for Remember Everyone Deployed. We are big backers here, and we love our veterans, and especially those that gave their all this past week. We had Memorial Day, and hopefully we all took a little bit of time just to thank those that went before us to protect this great nation, and those that continue to do so as well, and thank them. So if you served in the military, if you could please stand, we'd love to give you a round of applause. All right, let's get Steve Wutke up here. Good morning,
Thank
Steve.
you. Appreciate it, David. CW, come up here real quick. Come on, man, real quick. I'll just take a second. Because I know Raleigh says this about you. You speak from the heart. Obviously you do. And I'm going to do the same. For all the sales people and the areas that you ran freight for our customer base and you always ran it on time, we're going to miss you. You're special. And the thing is, you can always come back here. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You just pass through, come in, have a coffee, smarten us up a little, okay? Because you can do it.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for all the salespeople, all of our customers that you worked with. Thank you.
And if it wasn't for you sales, I would have been able to be so successful.
Man, here, let me pay you for that. You said all the right stuff.
Hey, it's been a few loads out there. Sales made the sales. I got the load. It got on my truck late. We already had the appointment set. And I made it. But I can tell you right now, there's people in this building, in this place, that was probably betting that I wouldn't make it. And yes, I do remember one load. I rolled in there 15 minutes before the appointment time. That was the closest I've ever been.
Give me some right there, Vic.
Yeah.
Good.
15 minutes, and it was bets that I would not make it.
So you plan your trips and you do it the right way. We appreciate you, man.
I guess so.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I got to know, what does the C stand for? Because all these years I've been calling you Clarence.
I guess that's what it stands for. Well, yeah, it's Clarence. My real name is Clarence Hartsock, and it's just my initials I go by, and I've been going by it for so long that it's not funny. So,
Man, there's some good Clarences. That's my first name too, CW. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. And Tammy, could you come up here, please? Just real quick. Come up here, Tammy Pickett. Come up here. I'm going to delegate my time to the people that matter the most. Come on up here. I know you've been working out. You can move faster than that. Get up here. Get up here. How's everything going? Speaking to that, Mike.
It's going good. It's going good.
You staying busy?
I am.
Yeah, you always stay busy, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And how long you been with us?
10 years.
10 years. Highway Diamond of the Year. Now, what does that really mean? Tell me. What it
Gratitude.
means what?
Gratitude.
Gratitude? That's well stated. I wouldn't have guessed that, but that's the kind of person you are. You're a giver, right? That's right. We're proud of you and proud of all of our Highway Diamonds. And you just keep in there, keep trucking and do it the right way like you always do, will you?
I will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're a leader, a very good leader. Sometimes the silent leader, the best kind. Thank you.
That's what I tell Dee.
There you go. Tell me that. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Dee. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you take care.
I will.
Okay. So, yeah, you know, earlier in the meeting, we were talking about business in general, and rates have moved up actually, about a nickel a mile year over year on the gross and about 7 cents on the net. So we're getting a little more velocity. We're getting those rate increases in, and it's making a difference. But listen, it's not about sales that are getting these rate increases. It's about what you all do every day, running on time and taking care of our customer base. Dwayne, you do it right too. You guys are special. So thanks for all you do. And I'm going to let Darrel come on up here and I'm going to shut up and we'll go over here and sell some more freight. Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate you.
I think Steve said it all pretty well. He did a really good job. You know, it's kind of fascinating to me. I get asked a lot of times by a lot of different people why Prime is so successful. You know, if you follow the industry publications right now and you see how other trucking companies are performing, it's pretty tough. I mean, they're struggling, and yet our company just keeps on cranking. And I tell you, when you walk in front of this group, because they're all looking for some kind of secret sauce answer. And when you walk in front of this group, you realize really quickly that it's just because of people like CW. It's because of who we hire and who we have working for us. Our standards are incredibly high in all aspects. Whether it's your driver in-house, it doesn't matter. Our standards are high. I can't name another company on the planet that the owner, until a few years ago, we just got too big, interviewed every single person that came in the company, because that's how important it is. And so I think if we just follow our mission statement, treat others the way you want to be treated, and that doesn't matter who's talking to who here, by the way, or if it's with a customer or if it's with a vendor, we treat them all with respect. We treat each other with respect. We treat everybody with respect. And if we do that, we'll just keep being the most successful trucking company in the nation. So thank you all for who you are and what you do for us. I think I'll let Robert wrap us up here, though.
Yeah, LF, come on up here, man.
Boy, Darrell,
wrap it up.
That's some good stuff. I hope we got that on tape. I don't know if I've ever heard you say words with more wisdom in them. I mean, that was good. You know, the boy can step up now and then. You know, I trained him a long time, and he's still in training. But
oh, he coaches every day.
I think he'll get there. He'll get there. He's a good one. Steve's a good one. Best sales guy in the country. You know, it's been a big part of, you know, getting us through this. And it's been a dark, deep recession out there in the freight business. And when we say people are struggling, we're not kidding. It's been tough. Tough on us. But I think we came through it, obviously, very well. And again, as Steve said, that's thankful thanks to you all, the jobs you do, the sacrifices you make to deliver these prime loads on time and in good condition. So I appreciate y'all. Everybody have a good weekend. God bless each of you and please be safe out there.